Good afternoon, Archer families. It is wonderful to have the opportunity for us to spend some time together this afternoon. Lovely, in fact, for us simply to be able to be together. I'm so sorry that that cannot be in person. It seems like a very long time since we have had those opportunities. But I do hope that you understand the very cautious and prudent approach that we are taking at the moment in relation to our COVID restrictions and risk management. And that is because the most important thing is that your precious children are able to be in school each and every day, receiving their education and those broader and wider opportunities. So we must continue to be careful at the moment, and that seems to be working so far. So thank you so much for your support. But I do very much hope that before too long, we may actually be able to stand in a room together and have the opportunities of that human contact with one another. But this time together has perhaps never been more important as we start this journey together for your child's Year 11 journey. So the purpose of our time together this afternoon is to ensure that you are informed about how we begin this journey and how we lead it together collaboratively to ensure the very best experience and the very best outcomes for your young person. That you feel really confident and really supported and really aware of those key actions that need to happen at all levels to ensure the most important thing, which is the happiness, confidence and success of your child. I'm delighted this evening to be joined by Mr. Gillow, Mr. Oakley and Mr. McSherry, and they will talk you through in different steps the key aspects of what happens next and how we do this well together. Please be aware that there will be a lot of information, as I'm sure you expect this afternoon, but Mr. McSherry will ensure that those resources are then available to you so that you can have them as an aid memoir at home. Throughout this afternoon, we would urge you to use the Q&A function to log any questions. Please be aware that we won't be able to answer those questions live this afternoon owing to the pressure of the time between this session and your tutor session, but that we would like to collate those questions to ensure that we can then bring them together in an FAQ style response through the newsletter with Mr. McSherry on Friday, but also because you may ask us things that we haven't quite thought about yet that might enable us to be even better at what we do. So Year 11, it is a big year. It is a significant year. We cannot deny this. However, regardless of the circumstances of this particular Year 11 for your child, Year 11 is always a big, significant year that feels quite momentous for children and their parents. Some of you may have done this already. For many of you, it will be the first time through. But Year 11 always being a significant moment is important for us to remember and important grounding for us as we embark on this journey together. Because whilst it is always significant, that can help us know that some of the emotions and experiences your young person is going through are completely normal. However, there is a different side to that, and that we do not underestimate the impact of the uncertainty that currently surrounds your child's GCSEs and the current state of education set up for them. We know that that is giving additional anxiety, and we know that it is also leading to some additional pressure. But please know that we are very capable and confident of supporting and leading you and your child through this year to ensure the very best outcomes for them. We have, unfortunately, through experience, become very adept at being able to react and respond to the requirements of the Department for Education and the Department of the Exam Boards. And we do that by ensuring that we have thought thoughtfully, first of all, about what is in the best interest of your child. And that is chiefly that they are taught to the very highest standard, that they are set good and consistent homework, that they are assessed regularly, that we have thorough records in school of their work and of their results, so that we can build a very confident picture of their progress journey across Year 11. That they have a rich range of interventions and additional support to further accelerate their progress or to help them speed up a bit if they need that. All of those things ensure that young people here thrive at school. So please know that whilst we cannot tell you specifically, and I recognise how hideous it is for a head teacher not to be able to do that, I cannot tell you specifically exactly what the summer of 2022 will look like, exactly what the specification alterations may or may not be. What I can tell you is that we will focus on ensuring the specifications are taught thoroughly and carefully, that your child has a deep knowledge and understanding of their content, full access to the skills that they need, and a range of robust and regular assessment opportunities. Because it is by doing that that your child is able then to be flexible and to adapt, as is the school, to any requirements that may come our way from the exam boards. But to be clear, at this point, we are expecting the exams to take place formally, as they last did in 2019. But we are expecting there to be some modifications, whether that be around content, whether that would be around weightings of different units, we don't know yet, which is why we must follow the teaching programme fully. But we are expecting external examinations to be sat, and that is what we will continue to work towards. So we acknowledge that it is a very different start to Year 11. After a period of uncertainty where your young person has seen 2 year groups above them not sit their exams. I wonder what it felt like for them to watch Year 11 last spring and summer, working harder than perhaps any Year 11 had done before to ensure that they were best placed to meet such complex arrangements from the exam boards. Wondering what it felt like to be that Year 11 just a few months ahead of them. But we do know that those experiences have taught us a lot. And we do know that we hope that we can mirror that confidence to your young person and to you. Because whilst we acknowledge that uncertainty, what's key is that we take control. We want, as far as possible, to ensure that they feel that level of control for themselves as well. Because we, in fact, want the same thing we would always want for a Year 11 cohort, and that is that they realise their potential confidently, that they are ambitious for themselves, that they are happy and they are proud of the effort that they have put in, because it is by being proud of the effort that we know how good we feel about ourselves. We must be incredibly conscious of well-being. We must be incredibly conscious of how your young person is feeling. If you are worried about your young person in any way, whether that is related to anxiety, whether that is related to pressure or uncertainty, an out of school concern, or to the loss that we have suffered in our community over the last couple of weeks, may I urge you please to ensure that you have spoken to your child's tutor or to Mr McSherry or Mr Gillow at the earliest opportunity to enable us to best support you and your child. No concern is too small. Please ensure that you have shared that with us. What would be key things from me as I support the kind of framework for handing over to Mr Oakley? It would be very clear from the outset that your young person may have to work a bit harder for their exams than year groups may have done historically, because they've got to be ready to adapt and they've got to be conscious that they haven't had all of the in-school experiences that they may have had previously in other year groups. They need to accept and own the fact that they must be very organised. Their exercise books, their folders, the resources that they have on the computer need to be up to date, need to be carefully filed and need to be accessible to them. They need to be very protective of their work. Every assessment counts. Every piece of homework really matters. You will see that we will keep all formal assessments in school, and your child needs to be conscious of why and how we will give them the feedback on those pieces of work. If we are expected to do some kind of midway approach where we give an assessed grade and then the exam board top that up, we feel very comfortable and confident with how we would do that. But that does require us to have a really solid evidence base here in school, and that's why the keeping and storing of assessment papers is so important for us. But your child's performance in that assessed work relies on them doing really good, consistent work over time. Please recognise that the media is not always kind and helpful to Year 11 children and Year 11 parents. They can make you feel more worried about this than you need to be. So please do trust and follow the messaging in school that you are getting from us as we help to support you through this time. There will be changes, we expect, but we will moderate and navigate through those together. But I want them to be best protected, and I want you to be best protected as well. What is absolutely pivotal is what I would say to all Year 11s that I've had in my care and probably will say for many years to come. And that is that this is very much a very carefully run marathon. Each step along the journey to being marathon ready counts and matters. It is not a sprint. No year 11 is going to thrive if they leave everything till the January of year 11 after their mocks. But your young person particularly will not thrive if they leave everything until January after their mocks, and experience of the last couple of years has really taught us that. So please do, as we are doing at school, mirror those conversations at home about homework, revision, ensuring that you can see what they're doing and that you feel comfortable and confident with what they should be doing as well. Because there is then so much to look forward to, although terrifying though it is for me. That is to think about their life and future beyond Archer and being able to go and fulfill and live any dream that they have for themselves. You will be very conscious of our wonderful partnership with Woodhouse College, that incredible sixth form in the top 4 nationally this year. It's incredible to believe. But our young people have advanced admissions across anybody else. And as long as they meet the admissions criteria, they are guaranteed a place. But that admissions criteria does need to be understood carefully. But it very much means they're simply at the front of the queue, and we're seeing our young people thrive there with that opportunity. We are looking forward to an assembly with the principal from Woodhouse College next week, and then a special A-level choices afternoon as well to really help them make decisions. But I would urge you to have a look at the online prospectus and to begin those discussions at home about what they might want to do. Of course, Woodhouse is not the right thing for every young person at all. There are incredible opportunities out there, particularly with Barnet and Southgate College and some of our other specialist institutions. So again, I would urge you to start exploring and mirroring some of the things that we're talking about at school. This is an exciting stage as well, and hard work can feel good as long as it is well structured and enabling. But I hope that together we will be able to best support you and your young person. Now, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Oakley, who's going to go into the practicalities of the next stage, and then to Mr. Giller, who will look very much at that kind of application window for those really aspirant applications for post year 11. I shall be back a little bit later. Thank you, parents, and I'll hand over to Mr. Oakley.
Thank you, Miss Harrison. OK, so hopefully you can see my slides. I'm going to be talking through a bit more detail about what Miss Harrison has just said, but repeating some of those messages as well, because they're so important. I'd just like to start by showing you the results from last year. So I should say 2021, apologies. So we think that our students got about a grade higher than students from a similar starting point across the country. So that's something we're really, really proud of. The average grade achieved by our students was a grade 6, which equates to an old grade B. So that is an average grade for a comprehensive school. Again, that's something which we're really proud of. Approaching half of grades were graded at grade 7 or higher. That's an old grade 8, A, sorry. And English and Maths at 9 to 5, 73%. So these are a set of results which are continuing to show improvement year on year, and something which last year's cohort did extremely well on. So what does that mean for your child? Well, it does mean that grade 9s, the top grade, are within reach. We've had grade 9s in all of our subjects over the last 3 years, and we continue to accumulate those, but they are very difficult to get. What we have noticed year on year, as you might expect me to say, is that the students who worked hard really got what they deserved. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean attending weekend and holiday sessions when they're put on, being in school, after the school day to do some extra work, good revision techniques, and importantly, learning from mock exams and any mistakes they may have made. A sustained effort throughout the year, not just in the first week in September, but continuing that through in the build up to the mocks, then to the real exams next year. Any coursework deadlines, listening to the deadlines and managing their work to be the best they can be when the deadline happens and not rushing at the last minute. And obviously we give amazing advice, which we'd like them to listen to. And then really, really importantly, which Mr. Giller will spend some more time on, looking about the next stage and what to aim for and what they need to get there. And just having that view that destination pathways will be secure as long as they get their grades, but it's always about having a plan B as well. So making sure there is an alternative if things don't go quite so well in the final exams. So that was what we feel would be a recipe for success, which would apply to every child in the school. So Ms. Harrison's already touched on this. So what uncertainty still exists? Well, we know there may be some changes to specifications, but we don't have any confirmation. So we will just go ahead and assume things will be as they are. We know that the exam dates are still not fixed, but we expect them to start on the 16th of May. which is 2 weeks before the summer half term, and then continue about 3 or 4 weeks after that half term into mid-June. So that would be the normal exam period, and that's where we're expecting exams to be next year. So what regular support do we offer to your child during the course of Year 11? Well, we would expect, as you would expect, that normal high standard of teaching and support where needed in the classroom. That's the first point of excellence where we expect the students to work with us. We will continue all the way through Year 11 with low stakes testing, and we've got an assessment fortnight coming up in the 2 weeks before half term, and that's going to help us to establish any gaps from learning from the lockdown periods last year. Coursework support for those subjects with coursework, and there still are quite a few, so leading up to those fixed deadlines, those hard deadlines, which the teachers will be very clear about. We have opportunities to work in school after school every day, and that's a starter provision. Obviously, revision supported guidance through lifelong learning with our tutor groups will continue throughout the year. We have Archer Plus, which is our enrichment offer, which started yesterday for all of Year 11 and will continue tomorrow, Thursday, for the first time. So those 2 choices there for the students. There's going to be 1 block until Christmas, and then a second block after Christmas for about 8 or 9 weeks, which will take us through to the GCSE exams. And that's a really good opportunity to work in possibly smaller groups with teachers to really sharpen techniques with certain subjects. We will also offer some weekend and half-term sessions, particularly next year as we get past the mock exams in the final run into the GCSEs in May. The careers and next steps guidance will continue throughout Year 11. And then we'll be using Microsoft Teams and a whole range of different online platforms. And I would listen clearly to the teacher's guidance on what are the best ones to go to. There's a wealth of stuff out there, but sometimes it's hard to really pick out the good ones. So your teachers will always have clear guidance on which are the best ones to use. So where do we need to take extra care this year? Well, as Ms. Harrison's already said, there is some level of uncertainty, but we need to take as much control as we can. So what that really means is working really hard at all homework and classwork, submitting things on time, keeping your books tidy, looking after them, and building up that strong progress over time. The key assessments revision is taken seriously, so that assessment period before half term, and then the mock exams before Christmas, which I'll talk about in a moment. So that's the same point, sorry. Having good organisation at home for books and assess work, and making sure that you can keep on top of homework and do it on time. And then reviewing that work for Year 10 and even Year 9, because all that content could potentially come up in the final GCSEs. So if there's anything missing, any work or topics which students feel they don't have a good grasp on or they miss completely, then this is the time to go and find out what that is and to catch up. And then if there's any coursework modules, as I've said a couple of times now, making sure that is something under our control, and therefore you can maximise the marks by listening to the guidance and keeping to the deadlines. So I've mentioned the mock exams in the run up to Christmas. Just a few points about this. So we will create a timetable shortly and circulate that around half term. So we do this before Christmas because we want a clear run of teaching and learning in the spring term. So we get the mocks out the way, and then we've got a clear 12 weeks of lessons before Easter, and then the final revision sessions in the run up to the GCSEs. So we have an occasional day like we have done every year. This year it's Friday the 26th of November. That provides a nice long weekend, 3 days before the mock exams start on the following Monday. The exams will be between the 29th of November and the 10th of December, so a full 2 weeks where students will be off timetable. And then they're back in school for a few days before we break up for the Christmas break. So we set this up as a realistic experience of what it's like to sit a sequence of exams without being overkill, but it is a very intensive period, and I will show you what a timetable might look like in a moment. We will do the sports hall setup, so as they are going to be sitting their live exams in May in the sports hall with desks, we will give that same experience using external exam invigilators so they get a sense of what it feels like to be in that exam experience. Like I said, the students will be off timetable for those 2 weeks, so they'll only be required to come in for their exams. And any student with access arrangements where they've got using laptops or scribes and so on, so that will be in place as if it were the live exams. Those students who have access arrangements will do that in the upper school. All other students will be in the lower school as for the live exams in May again. It is more about the written exams, so coursework will be approached differently, but this is about the written exams the students will sit in May. Following the mock exams, we will be marking furiously over the last week of term and through Christmas and moderating, and they will get result slips ready for the students to come back as soon as they come back into school on the Wednesday after New Year. And then there's a parent consultation evening on the Thursday. So that parents' evening comes straight on the back of receiving the result slips, which is perfect time to pick apart what happened in those mock exams. So the students will get diagnostic feedback on exactly the topics they did well on or not so well, and how to get better. We know that for some that is a good wake-up call. That's a real opportunity to reset and think about what is now needed to get better in time for the exams in May. And we experienced that on average students tend to improve by about a grade from their mock exams until their live exams. Of course, some will do better and some will do less well, but that is the sort of metric we work towards. And Ms Harrison again has already mentioned this, so there is a possibility that we may have to do some sort of teacher assessment grades, in which case these mock exams and all the assessments throughout year 11 could be really significant. So we don't expect that to happen, but we just have to have that in the back of our minds as a possibility, and that really does raise the significance of those mock exams, particularly in December. And then following the parent consultation evening on the 6th of January, there's a vocational evening on the 12th of January, and that's an opportunity to find out about vocational pathways following leaving Archer Academy. So this is not something I want you to take screenshots of. This is not the mock exam timetable, but this is the one that was used last year. So you could just get a sense that on most days there could be 3 exams. Some days some students will not have an exam at all. But it gives you an idea of the reach of these exams and how intense it will be for the students. Most exams will be about 90 minutes, just like in the real exams, and the idea is to give them that real experience. But again, please don't take that as the live timetable. This is last year's, just to give you a sense of what it might look like. So from the mock exams to Easter, so we have a free week, which we consider to be our starting gun, if you like. So we pause, we still have lessons, but there's no homework that week, there's no interventions, there's no after school sessions. It's just a week where they come to school, do their lessons and go home. And that is a chance to set themselves up, to take a deep breath and then go with their revision from that week forwards. We then have some spring mock exams in EBAC subjects, I should say. So we'll have a couple of weeks before Easter where there'll be some further mock exams. There'll be some weekend half-term Easter holiday revision sessions, which we term Archer Accelerate, and more information about that will follow after Christmas. Like I've already said, Archer Plus for all students started yesterday and continues tomorrow. That will run in 2 blocks from now until Christmas, and then from Christmas until around about Easter time, to give that extra opportunity for study. We will probably put in place some walking talking mocks where a member of staff or an experienced member of staff talks through an exam paper. That'll probably be around the springtime. And there will of course be other interventions as well to fill the gaps where we feel it's needed. But the idea here is that little and often, so it can't all just be in the last few weeks before May. It's got to be something which students start to chip away at now and build up to. So what can you do as parents? Well, I think taking an interest in what your child is doing, what they're studying. I know it can be a challenge for some subjects, but trying to understand what they're going through. Ask to see the results of their revision. So if they just say, I'm going to revise, then get them to show you what they've done. There should be some form of output. If they're sitting there just reading their textbook, they're going to drift away and lose their focus. So reward effort before achievement. So if they've worked really hard, that's the sort of thing to notice. Help them to own their journey, particularly towards destinations and where they're going to go after Archer Academy. Get them to think about what they want to do and own what they're going to head towards. Good habits, so try and get into routines around phones and confiscation at night. I would suggest computer games could be a nice release and relaxation, but within certain limits. And prioritise, please, the 3 weeks and weekends before the mock exams in December as time where the students should be given time to maybe duck out of family events and just have that space to be able to revise for those mocks. We have some key events beyond the school day, so your support there will be greatly received for students and for you as parents. and avoiding any dentistry appointments, particularly during the school day or straight after school, which might interfere with work they're trying to do or we're trying to do with them. Except as parents, you're probably going to say the wrong thing. Help to set up a good working space at home, and if I could recommend lots of feeding and watering of your child, and they may not want to hear your advice, but really what they just want is your support and to be fed and watered at the right time. So that's all from me. I'm now going to hand on to Mr. Gillow, who's going to talk more about the career side and so on.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, yep.
Yep.
Good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to speak specifically around if everything is going well in the classroom, and then thinking about what is the aspiration that your child should have alongside this in terms of next steps. It has been very clear that students who have a key understanding about what they want to do next seem to achieve well and achieve better than some who don't. But it is also really important to remember that sometimes people do get caught out by entry requirements. So I'm going to very briefly go through these, but this will all be with you so you can look at it in your own time. So just as a snapshot of this year, and this is an evolving picture, you can see some of the headlines that we've had from our outgoing year 11s. So nearly 90% of our students went on to do a level 3 course this year, 77% of those taking A levels. Okay, the vast majority of our students were very successful and have gone on to enroll in Woodhouse. A smaller number have gone on to Barnet and Southgate, with a range of other destinations. There's some destinations there of all different types of an equal caliber, and some of them have some real expertise in certain areas. Okay, all in all, there were 25 other destinations. We saw quite an increase in students going to City and Islington and London Screen Academy again. And again, that might be the discussions you just want to have a talk with your child about whether or not they've got a real specific interest. But at the same time, while we're doing that, we're talking about it being the most aspirational course. We're going in at a level 3 where we can, and I'd really like to see that figure this year going up towards kind of 95% of students going off to do a level 3 course. Okay, there's been some specific vocational courses for the first time this year that again might interest and inspire your child, just as they sometimes find the work a bit hard going as they're going into the depths of the autumn and the winter. So there's lots of options out there. For most of the students, it will be A levels, which is the best route. But there is new courses coming along in terms of T levels. There are the vocational qualifications. And I know some students have started to really show an increase in applied qualifications like traineeships and apprenticeships. But for all of those courses, students have got to secure the best possible grades in all the subjects. If a child wants to go and do an apprenticeship, we will support them with that, but we should be looking for the best apprenticeship in the best company where we should hopefully secure the best training alongside that work. And it's the same for all of those different courses. And I'm going to go through the entry requirements of a couple of different types of course in a minute, just to show you what I mean. But underneath all of this, if your child doesn't have a maths and an English grade in a grade 4 or above, that is going to impact what they're going to have to do in the next year's course. And whilst it might not be the end of what they want to do, it might just make the road a little bit longer. And certainly some of my feedback from this year were students who had gone on and were unable to go into that aspirational level because they hadn't quite achieved one of those two. Information that students gather on their own and within school, and prior knowledge about what courses, again, are key alongside this. It's important that students and parents continue to ask questions, but being aspirational at all times. Take the opportunity to have your independent careers meeting, take another opportunity with that if you'd like it, and just keep doing independent research and thinking, what does this mean for me? So if we're talking generally about A-level requirements, now I've based this quite heavily on our main provider in terms of A-levels, which is Woodhouse College. So most A-level courses will require an average of best 8 subjects of between 5 and 6. And in the case of Woodhouse, that is an average of 6. So if your child is currently working with an average of below 5, we need to start making some real steps to secure that average of a 5 or a 6 if it is going to be for Woodhouse. And if we're looking at wanting to go on to do A-level, 4 A-levels at Woodhouse, that average is going to have to be a 7.5. And for 4 A-levels, it would need to include a 6 in English language and maths. They do accept at Woodhouse maths and English language at a minimum grade 5, but to be quite honest with you, essay-based subjects will all require a 6 in English language, and the more science-based subjects, the maths will be a minimum of a grade 6, which I'm going to go through in a moment. So there's just some general terms in terms of A-level requirements, which all students should now start to probably have that poster like they are in school all over the walls, knowing what they need to do. Specific subject requirements: if a child wants to go on and do A-level maths, they're going to need a grade 7, and that's not negotiable. In terms of science, this entry requirements in all of the institutions where our students are going to do A-levels have been set very high. All settings require a 7.6 in combined science, and if it's triple science, it is predominantly a 7.66. And if it is physics that needs to be taken, then the 7 needs to be in physics, and that will need to be alongside a 7 in maths. There's a couple of other bits about biology and chemistry there. They're not quite as significant as the physics. Computer science students, you will often require a grade 7 in maths as well, so be thinking alongside that. And one that catches students out year on year is psychology. The number of students I sit with who say I'm not able to do psychology because they don't have a 6 in maths and science, as well as a 6 in English language. So no matter if your child is sat at home with you saying, well, I don't really need science, I don't want to go on and do it, just a reminder that it is a double grade and it does impact so many other grades in terms of entry requirements. But as we said, some students might want to go on and look at a more vocational course, and what we would aspire to is that all of our students are trying to go in at a level 3 standard for that. Now, in terms of a BTEC level 3, if we were to go to Barnet and Southgate or City and Islington or any of the other independent colleges that would support this, for an extended diploma, which is a 3 A-level equivalent, you will need 6 A-levels or to 4 or 5 or above, including maths and English. So we come back to that point again about the importance of maths and English. For the diploma, which would be a 2 A-level equivalent, they would only need the 4 GCSEs at 4 to 5, but you can still see the maths and English is important for that. They will also
Sorry, Richard, we can't hear you.
Okay, I do apologise.
Yeah.
Sound seems to have gone. So in terms of the BTEC, I'm done. Sorry about that. I don't know where that's gone on to mute there. So in terms of those BTEC level 3 requirements, you can see them outlined there, but it's just important to realise that there are English and maths throughout. Okay, I was just going to finish off by just saying one step further than that, and it was just an update for some of you just to realise that the bigger picture is that when university comes along, some of our first year students that have now gone into their second year of university have gone on to some fantastic institutions. And what we want to do is just to start students in year 11 and lower down the school, just continue to be aspirational and ensure that they're going off to the best possible Key Stage 5 course and then hopefully off onto university. Okay, so I'll make sure that information is over to you, and I apologise for the small error on the sound, and I will now hand over to Mr. McSherry. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to, I think Miss Harrison said that it was important that you felt well informed. And I think what better way to do that than to take you through some of the information that I took your children through last week and then again this week in Tuesday's assembly. Some of our key priorities for this academic year. Firstly, academic excellence, of course, to ensure that every student realises their potential. That's very, very important. We are looking to achieve, our goal is to achieve an increase in students achieving 5 GCSEs at grade 5+, including English and maths. at 83%. Some of you will notice that that is a 10% increase on last year. So 10% is very much a key figure for us. And this is something that, as I've said, I've shared with your children over the last week or so, and that will be very much a key theme going through. Aspirations, as you've heard plenty about, it's about their learning journey. It's their learning journey, something, as Mr. Oakley said, for them to take ownership of and really take responsibility for. The focus on mental health and well-being to support their mindset, lots of opportunities to do that, take care of themselves, signpost support, that will be our responsibility and yours, and also equity. So to ensure that there are opportunities for all, and that those very opportunities may well take a slightly different shape for different students. Hard work was my focus, and we really cannot get away from that. That was very much my focus. I think I'm boring them with it, but we must continue to do so until we get them in front of us working hard. That's working hard in front of us here at school, and then of course working hard in front of you at home. Effort is of course something that we can all control. And whilst there remains, as we've heard about already this afternoon, some uncertainty, what we can do, what they can do, is to focus on those controllables: effort, hard work. And consistency is another key theme for us. So when will it be too late? When will they start working hard? When will they start giving all of their efforts and maximising every moment in every classroom and every moment at home as well? It was a question that I posed to all of your children just to reflect on and have a think about. As we map out their journey, we're of course done with year 9 and year 10. We're into year 11 now, and that just starts us on our journey. As I said, it's their journey. It's what do they want to do? Where do they want to go? Some more questions that I asked them to consider. What is it that they, or from my point of view, it was what do I need from you? So I asked them, what do I need from you? What do you need from each other? What do you need from your teachers, from your tutors? Okay, those type of questions, again, is important for them to have a look, to take ownership, to take responsibility, that personalized approach to think every young person needs something slightly different. But we will do our absolute best to afford them all the same opportunities. It's a big picture focus. It's a bit of a balance here. Big picture focus, where do I want to be? Aspirations, of course, but also maximizing every moment. I said, be where your feet are. Maximize every single moment that you possibly can. And in time, they'll work with us, as will you, as Mr. Gillow talked about, and that's establishing a clarity of their journey. It's up to them to have a think about where they want to go, what they want to do, and what they need to get there. I showed them this picture and I said it represents the fact that time flies and we must maximize all the opportunities that we have, like I said, in classroom and at home, with interventions, with top-up sessions, with revision classes, whatever it might be. It's so important because in a click of the fingers, it will be February and it will be March. And we must stay ready. And that involves consistent hard work. This is something that they control, as I've said already. And I think, as Mr. Oakley said, students tend to get what they deserve. They tend to get what they deserve. This is my balance picture. They will be bored of it. I'm not sure how often you've seen it. But again, to achieve that balance between hard work and academic excellence, and also very much, as Ms. Harrison said, to focus on mental health and well-being. We've got football starting up for some of the students. We have cherry tree afternoons, lunchtimes, Thursday and Friday. Sign up, come and see me, let me know that they want to do it. We've also had a yoga teacher come in Wednesday lunchtimes from next week. All of such opportunities I will advertise widely. If you would like your son or your daughter to be involved, then please do let me know. Sometimes it takes a little persuasion, but we will do our best. It is important that they do their best to achieve a balance, and that is, yes, working hard, absolutely, but it's also taking care of their own sense of well-being with a little bit of self-care, doing the things they enjoy doing, making sure that there is always structured time for relaxing and clearing their mind of all their responsibilities that they have at 15, 16. 10%, this will be ringing in your ears by the summer. It's how, again, a question I pose to your children, how do we squeeze 10% more from you? How do we do that? Of course, that represents our academic excellence figure, but also asking them the question, how are we going to squeeze 10% more from you? If they do need somebody to talk to, we have lots of different things going on. Our wellbeing hub, worry boxes, of course they can come to staff, tutors, myself, Mr. Gillow here at the upper school. This, remember, all will be shared with you in the following days, so don't feel like you have to scribble anything down, but we are very much thinking about this and we are very much here to help. Finally, I showed them this on the first day back. We always publish celebratory pictures of students with their GCSE certificates. And again, useful question for you to reinforce at home. What's that going to look like? Are you going to be featured? Will you have made outstanding progress? Will you be able to get whatever your first choice is? Will you be able to go on and do what you want to do? It's empty at the moment, but there is space for progress and for those celebratory pictures for all of your children, no doubt. And finally then, if they work hard and they are nice to people, we will tick many of those boxes. Hard work is very much our focus. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Mr. Oakley, so you can hear a little bit more from him.
Okay, thank you, parents. So Miss Harrison has had to dash off because she's now starting the Year 8 parent welcome evening, so she sends her apologies. But we didn't want to rush what we were delivering to you tonight because these messages are so important. So thank you for the questions in the Q&A, and I will get Mr. McSherry to publish some responses there. It is quite scary, all this stuff, but you need to trust us. We do know what we're doing. We've got a good track record already of getting excellent results, and if the students listen to us, they will do well. So I'm now going to close this session. Parents are now going to, you're now going to close this session and go to your tutors link, and that will then set you up to have the session with them tonight. So thank you for your attention tonight, and I hope you enjoy your time with your tutor. Thank you.